all have a movie, or sometimes a few movies, that nobody else will talk about and you can't understand why because you think it's the greatest thing you've ever seen in your life. I'll let you in on a secret. Mine is Wrongfully Accused, a comedy flick with Leslie Nielsen, which by all letters of the law is absolute trash, but I think it's hilarious. Yes, I have a problem. But we're not worrying about that kind of thing today because it is Sci-Fi, Science Fiction's Friday. I know I'm a massive goon, and my name is Simon Miller, and I'm just gonna bring it to you straight. Here are some science fiction's movies that nobody talks about when really we should be talking about them all the damn time. Subscribe. Number 10, The Man Who Fell to Earth. This is beautifully bonkers, starring David Bowie, of course, who plays an alien who comes to Earth trying to save his own planet because they've run out of water. When he does land, he's like, oh wow, I quite like it here, and he even falls in love. Flippin' love. It's always screwing everything up, and let's face it, his feelings probably changed when he discovers that yes, the government is trying to track him down because he's an alien, and for some reason in all alien movies, if you just turn up on planet Earth, they want to take you away and do experiments, like they want to probe you. The irony. The real joy of it though is the innocence of this extraterrestrial character. The sheer rigmarole that he's dragged through is actually quite sad and sympathetic, and there's a real message here about identity and responsibility, and when the credits do roll, you may just spend a few minutes thinking about your own life. It's also proper weird at points, which is never a bad thing, and while Bowie fans I'm sure are well aware of this, even if you're not, don't be put off just because it's a musician trying to be an actor. He was very smart with the movie roles he chose, because I think he knew he could pull something off, and he damn well does it here. Number 9, Frequently Asked Questions About Time Travel. A British sci-fi comedy that was released in 2009, this was absolutely savaged by the critics when it did indeed hit the big screen. I bet that didn't please HBO and BBC, who came together to make this, but I think it got a hard ride. Simply put, if you like English nonsense such as Red Dwarf, you're probably going to get something out of this. It stars Chris O'Dowd, who's always fun to watch, and Anna Faris, her of Scary Movie fame, and they are the real appeal here, they're the highlight, and it's just meant to be dumb and over the top. So if you sit down expecting something super serious and you don't get it, well, I don't want to be mean, but you're the problem. So I'm not pretending it's not silly, it absolutely is, but if you just want to waste a couple of hours watching something that's kind of quirky and weird, this is the film for you. I mean, it's about a guy who accidentally time travels to the future and sees his own death and then tries to undo that while also trying to obey the laws and physics of time travel. It's just dumb, but I think it does dumb well. Number 8, Paul. Although it's from some of the minds that also brought us Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead, Paul is like the forgotten sibling out of these three that everybody gives a kick into and says is a pile of crap. In fact, once it was released, it just got forgotten about instantly, whereas Shaun of the Dead is played over here in UK on ITV2 every single day. I mean, it's very on the nose and has a story that you've seen 1,000 times before, but it does star Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, who are always good together, and they're essentially just playing themselves. They are a couple of sci-fi nerds who stumble across an alien, except this alien isn't your stereotypical extraterrestrial, and he loves to smoke drugs. And again, yes, the government find out and they try and track him down. We've seen it all before, but all of that is made up for with a few cameos from the likes of Jason Bateman and Bill Hader. My point is, there's always something that makes you go, oh yeah, that's kind of cool. So eventually it is stoner humor meets science fiction action, which kind of will let you know whether you like it or not, but don't just throw it out the window because of that. It's a far better movie than some people would have you believe. Number 7, Dark Star. The earliest feature film from the legend known as John Carpenter back in 1973, the strangest thing about Dark Star is what followed it is Escape from Precinct 13, and these two movies couldn't be more different if they tried. Essentially a 2001 Space Odyssey spoof that turns the madness right up to 11. You are going to get a lot of chats about metaphysics and life, and then you're going to see somebody surfing in space, but that just goes to show how silly this is. Every single thing that happens is kind of looking at you, winking away, is giving a nod to the audience. You'll also get to see the flickers of greatness that we know Carpenter would go on to achieve, and really, this does such a good job of being a parody film that it's worth the admission price alone. Plus, come on now, you know the rules. If you consider yourself a sci-fi fan and you haven't seen one John Carpenter film, then you are no longer allowed to call yourself a science fiction fan. You need the t-shirt, you need the mug, and you need to have more information than anybody else. Go watch it. Number 6, A Scanner Darkly. Adapted from the psychedelic writings of Philip K. Dick in 2006, A Scanner Darkly not only gives you a look into a dystopian future, but it also really doubles down on this whole paranoia about constant surveillance. It's the whole movie. Throw in some real life tragedy about a friend that Dick actually lost in his own life due to addiction, and you have something here that's got far more bite than you may realise. There's no easy answers here either, as the film would rather ask questions, and having a rotoscope Keanu Reeves as the main character is perfect, especially because he's a guy that's meant to be almost sabotaging these addicts, but instead he winds up caring for them. There's also a huge look at the criminal justice system here, and because it is directed by Richard Linklater, yes, he of Blade Runner fame, if you enjoyed that movie even the smallest amount, you should definitely check out A Scanner Darkly, not because it's the same, but there is almost a thread running through them both. Trust me. Number 5, Life Force. Right, I'm not gonna lie to you, Life Force is kind of a mess from top to bottom. It's got some awful special effects, if we can even call them, that don't really hang up today in 2020, but you don't need to worry about all of that. I have 2 words for you that will sum it up, and those 2 words are space vampires. And that's it, that's the end. It came out in 1985 and it follows a bunch of humans that have come out of hypersleep, gone back to planet Earth and then gone, oh no, I can't believe it. Now the whole planet is overrun by space vampires. That's it. Why are you still here? Go and watch Life Force. So don't expect anything else here but pure insanity. But again, don't forget the things I've just told you about. You want to go and watch Lesbian Vampire Killers, or whatever the hell that thing was. And now you definitely want to be watching space vampires. Number 4, Alphaville. Coming from French director Jean-Luc Godard, Alphaville is both hard to categorize and put in a genre, but I think that's the whole point. And the reason I want to throw it in here is that you always hear these discussions about new wave science fiction films, and yet Alphaville is nowhere to be seen. Following a secret agent who is trying to exist in a future dictatorship, this is kind of like film noir meets science fiction, but the visuals alone are enough to keep you interested. It just looks so cool. It's shot in black and white so that you know it's not trying to conform and it's all artsy, but our hero also uncovers a conspiracy that implicates the authorities at every single level. But if I'm being honest, you don't need to worry about the plot. You sit down and you just enjoy this atmosphere for what it is. Take you to another place. I will say that it can get a little bit too preachy because it was shining a magnifying glass of current governments at the time, but if you don't mind that, you won't mind Alphaville. Number 3, Renaissance. Another French field noir crossover. It also stars Daniel Craig before he was James Bond. And for some reason, people don't believe that. They think he just popped out of the womb and became 007, but I can tell you that is not the case. And the reason that it struggled massively when it was released is that it came out only 1 year after Sin City, but it looked almost identical, so you had critics and fans alike going, well, this is clearly just a copycat, so I'm not gonna go and see it. It was a mistake. I mean, it does have a very obvious and by the numbers noir plot as we follow gang members and drug busts, but on top of that you also have the secret of immortality. It's also far more ambiguous than its main comparison, and also I don't see why that's a bad thing. If you watch Sin City and went, wow, look how amazing that looks, well, you can get more of the same here. Craig is also brilliant in this, as is Jonathan Pryce, who you probably know nowadays from the series known as Game of Thrones. Number 2, The Red Spectacles. A 1987 effort from director Mamoru Oshii, this is all about how human interaction has gone into the toilet as technology has taken over, and also how the police can be super duper corrupt. For you see, as crime does indeed run wild through Tokyo, the feds set up a secret unit that is allowed to manage this by whatever means they see fit. And you already know the question that brings up there, well, if the police are doing this, who the hell is policing the police? And so on and so forth. So it's a bit like Judge Dredd to a certain degree, although there is plenty of RoboCop thrown in there too. And the main reason you should go and watch this is because of the amazing and explosive ending. Because 1, if you are able to figure it out, you should stop watching this right now and go become a film director because you're a genius. And 2, it will stay with you long after the fact. It also makes the whole journey worthwhile, even if you do struggle with little parts of it, because the destination is just that good. I'm not going to spoil any more, but again, trust me, it's a lot of trust I'm throwing out. Number 1, Dark City. Dark City is the movie that everybody says was the main inspiration for The Matrix. Straight away, everybody's running around trying to put it on to see if they agree, but I think just by saying that, well, you're doing it a huge disservice. Following your usual hero who does see the reality of his own life crumble before his eyes as he learns the truth, there's also a really compelling conspiracy theory running through this that will keep you hooked. You'll also see where the likes of Minority Report got all of their ideas from, and I will admit the theme of this is pretty much, well, life is meaningless, so who cares anyway? But even with that, it somehow also manages to be quite the thrill ride, like a roller coaster. If nothing else, you'll want your own life to be a little bit brighter after watching this because it is so dark, but I guess that is hinted at in its title. It's called Dark City, and that's because it's about a city that goes really dark. I'm not even being facetious, That's what it is. And there you have it, 10 sci-fi films here on Sci-Fi that you absolutely need to see. And now make sure you go into the comments and leave your own ones so I can watch them. It's like we've done a business deal. Then like the video, share the video, subscribe to What Culture, and head on over to whatculture.com. You can read articles like this with your eyes. You can follow What Culture on Twitter at What Culture. And again, if you're already on YouTube and you got some time, click around, watch some more videos here at What Culture. My name is Simon Miller from What Culture. Thank you very much again for joining me for Sci-Fi. I'm really enjoying it because deep down I'm just a geek, I'm just a nerd, but who the hell